Staircase is an advanced, wideband frequency multiplier and wave shaper. It can be used on a wide variety of source material, everything from LFOs all the way up to full external video inputs. Staircase takes incoming voltages going from 0 to 1 volts and sort of wraps them around each other. So where you used to have 0 to 1, now you'll have 0 to 1 multiplied 5 times or 10 times. This is easiest to show with an external ramp. So I'm going to take a ramp from the visual cortex, put it into the source input, and I'm going to take one of the outputs from Staircase and go into the visual cortex. I'm going to set this to a circle ramp. So if I pull the frequency all the way down, I'm just going to zero out these settings. If I just pull the frequency up a little bit, you'll start to see what the Staircase is doing. So this is taking just a basic circular ramp, something more or less just like that, and it starts to multiply the frequency. So what you get is more iterations of that basic circular shape. You also have a phase control. And the phase control, as you can see, sort of sweeps through those rings. And of course, both of these can be modulated by external inputs. You also have harmonics on the top. And these give you a lot of different options in terms of how you want that multiplication to occur. And so that should give you a basic idea of the core functionality of the module. So now I've plugged in a color chords, so we can look at the different outputs. There's divide by 1, divide by 2, and divide by 4, which separates some of the different frequency multiplications. So as you can see, the divide by 1 is going to layer 1. If I pull the divide by 2 into layer 2, you'll see we get a different range of bands to play with. Similarly, I can take the divide by 4 and go into layer 3. So what this is doing now is counting every single ring, every second ring, and every fourth ring. So this opens up a lot of nice compositing applications. You could also, if you wish, take one of these outputs and go back into one of the voltage control inputs. At extreme settings, you'll start to see a little feedback effect, as you can see on the edge of that inner ring. And this also lets you give a different variety to the character of the multiplications. When we go into the multiply inputs. So now you'll start to see a really dramatic feedback effect. Going back to this basic patch, we're now going to look at using a more conventional modulator. So I have a prismatic ray, and it's synced to vertical. And so now I can change those multiplications based on this vertical VCO. This just gives you another option on making complicated patterns. You can also take that same output, put it into the phase input, and again, this gives you just a few more options. Now keep in mind, these modulation inputs can accept anything from video rate to audio rate, which you can use for modulation effects, and it can go all the way down to LFO speeds as well. So that's the basic functionality of Staircase. Now we'll look at using Staircase as a voltage-controlled oscillator. This was one of the intended original use cases of this module. It can provide a different flavor of VCO than the prismatic ray, capable of different types of modulation and pattern generation. To begin, take a vertical ramp or a horizontal ramp out of the visual cortex, put it into the source of the Staircase. Let's take a look at what this looks like. just going to go into layer 1 of a color chords. And you already see something that looks pretty reminiscent of a video oscillator. Obviously, by switching through different ramp shapes, you can get different results. And also, if you switch from horizontal to vertical, you'll get bars going in different directions. To introduce some movement into this oscillator, we could plug a pendulum into the phase voltage control input of the staircase. So now that we have a modulated oscillation pattern, we can use this in a variety of ways. I'm going to switch this over to layer 2, just so we have an open slot there. I'm going to switch this to the divide by 2. I'm going to take the output of a prismatic ray and put that into layer 1. So you can see the prismatic ray is now generating vertical bars. If I go into the frequency voltage control input from divide by 1 in staircase, you start to get frequency modulation of this oscillator. So this is a really nice way to get some more complex patterns if you're working with a system that doesn't have a lot of oscillators. And as you see, as we adjust the multiply and the phase control and the harmonics, we start to get a whole bunch of different types of patterns. From here, I can also go into the frequency voltage control on the staircase, and I'm going to use the H plus V ramp. And this adds just another layer of complexity to the pattern that we're generating. So this is a very basic setup, but it should give you some idea of how you could start to use the staircase as a voltage-controlled oscillator. From here you could play with different settings. Start to get more subtle or more advanced results. If I pull this out, you'll see exactly what is happening from the frequency modulation. Now we'll look at using the staircase to process external video images. So I've got a video coming in from the Andor 1 media player. I'm going to take the Luma out. I'm going to put it straight into the color chords just so you can see the plain video. When using this technique, it's important to choose a video with a wide dynamic range, meaning that it has full blacks, bright whites, and shades of gray in between. This will give you the most dynamic results when you're processing with the staircase. So now I'll take that video signal, I'm going to put it into the input of a passage. This allows me to multiply the video signal and also process it before sending it to different modulation destinations. So I'll take the output of channel 1, go into the source input on the staircase, take the divide by 1 output, and I'm going to put that onto one layer of a color chords. So already you can see the staircase is capable of some pretty complex and detailed results. As you bring the frequency down, you can get very subtle wave shaping effects. And as you bring it up through higher frequencies, you start to get very detailed and psychedelic results. And of course, you can play with the different harmonics to get some different possibilities. You'll see as we sweep through the phase, you start to get different results. Let me pull this down so you can see the phasing a little bit better. And of course, you can add modulation from an LFO or any other source to any of these. So I'm just going to do a slow LFO on the phasing here. And as you speed it up, you start to get some really cool wave shaping effects. Slow it down. There we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is take this out, and I'm going to use another one of my passage channels. I'm going to zero this out, and I'm going to put this into the frequency voltage control on the staircase. What I'm trying to do here is I'm going to use the passage to invert the signal, and then I'm going to crank this up and pull this down. So what's happening now, where the image coming in is black, the the staircase is at its maximum frequencies. Where the image is white, the staircase is at a lower frequency. So this allows you to get some really cool dynamic edge effects. So just the darkest parts of the image are getting the higher frequency parts of the staircase. Now, I can take the other two outputs, divide by 2, and divide by 4, and go into different inputs on the color chords. And now this gives me a really cool dynamic colorization effect. And as I play with the controls down here on the passage, I can modulate how intense the effect gets. And I can play with the phase and the different channels on color chords. Play with the harmonics. And you start to get something really cool. So you're getting this kind of edge effect, where the staircase is looking at the darkest parts of the images, so around the character's eyes and the vignette in the background, and it's applying maximum wave shaping to those areas. The white areas of the image are less affected, and those are being rendered, in this case, as pure black. And as you sweep through the phase controls, you can offset some of that. So the final thing I'll do for this patch is just, again, throw an LFO into the phase input. Get some adjustments on there. And speed this up a little bit. And there you go. So that's how you can achieve advanced colorization effects using the staircase to process external videos. We hope that this gives you a good basic introduction to working with the staircase. With advanced wave shaping and multiplication possibilities, staircase can be used in a variety of applications. Don't be afraid to experiment. Any image with a nice wide dynamic range will give great results when plugged into the source input. Thanks for watching, and please leave any questions or other patches you'd like to see in the comments.